Good morning. My name is Tom Woods. I'm with the Commercial Vehicle Division of the Washington State Patrol. Been there for 20 years. Just like to give you a little bit of background. I've come out of 20 years of the industry. I drove tanker for 20 years for aero transportation out of the west side of the mountains. So I've come from both the working side of it and the so-called non-working side of it. Been with the patrol now for 20 years. I've been their hazardous materials transportation specialist for the majority of those years. We've worked with Walla Community College on giving these classes because the State Patrol really does feel that one of the key things that we have and one of the duties we have is basically the partnership with the industry. We want a partnership with you guys so that the enforcement side of it, and that is the last step in the process. This last weekend we just gave a class with McGregor out here. We've done a McGregor Savage cargo tank inspection weekend this last weekend, so very high priority for us to be involved with you people in that at the very beginning. And where this really came from, being here at Walla Community College, is the fact of making it so when you guys start out in the trucking industry that you realize that we're there to help you. Our primary goals are safety out here. So we wanted to make this contact initially in your training so that you feel comfortable enough to come to us if you're feeling that there's a problem, you don't understand a rule or regulation, that this be available to you both in a classroom format and being able to get a hold of us either out here at one of the scales or to be able to feel free enough to call up the State Patrol and ask for one of the commercial vehicle officers to come and help you out. And what we're going to do today is I'm just going to give you a brief overview of what we're all about in the Commercial Vehicle Division, what some of the rules, regulations, and laws that you're going to have to become accustomed to, because it is by law your responsibility to know all the rules, regulations that you come under when you decide to become a commercial vehicle driver. And if you haven't already noticed in that, the amount of regulations that you run under are phenomenal. If you get involved in the hazmat end of the commercial vehicle program, it even becomes more of a regulatory issue. And the amount of the regulations is bad enough, but the problem we've got is these regulations change literally almost daily, especially in the hazmat field. So it's not something that you can just do, forget about it, and think that you know everything you need to know. If you're going to travel in Washington, Oregon, California, all of this, you need to know all of their laws. And this has been and always been a big issue. Well, I didn't know. Well, just like you've always heard, I don't know doesn't cut it when it comes to being stopped out here on the road, because it's your responsibility to know what the rules and regulations are, even though you're working for another company. You know, you kind of understand that when you're an owner-operator, but if you're working for somebody else, it's kind of like, well, it's their responsibility to let me know. Well, in some ways it is, but it's also your responsibility to know this stuff. Part of the program we have here has to do with, we are a multifaceted agency. The Washington State Patrol Commercial Vehicle Division is made up of both commercial vehicle officers, which we have, our commission has to deal with commercial vehicles only. And then we also have commercial vehicle troopers, and that their role has to do with the moving violations and some of the other stuff. They can also both dual work with the commercial vehicle end of it as well as the private end of it. Our commercial vehicle program is strictly limited to the commercial vehicle that are operating on the highway. We operate in the state via fixed facilities, port of entries type facilities. We have portable scales in the back of our vans, and we have a number of scales that are not port of entries, and we're going to go into that further as we go. And that one of the key things that we're being handed down to is the safe operation of commercial vehicles on the highway, which has to do with safe loading, safe equipment on the highway, and this type of thing. So, and this involves what they call the CVSA inspection program, and we'll go into that in a little bit later also. And we also are tasked by the Washington State Patrol, the Department of Transportation, to deal with oversized loads. In other words, the safety of our highways having to do with the amount of damage that's being done by commercial vehicles. This is a big issue out here. As you may already know or not, you're legal to go with permits up to 105,500 pounds in this state. It's a lot of weight on our highways, and that does a lot of, overall through the years, can do a lot of damage to our roads, so we want to be sure that this stuff is being operated properly and safely. What we're going to discuss today is we're going to discuss the goals and responsibilities of the Commercial Vehicle Division, so you understand why we're out here. We're going to talk about some facilities and procedures that we use. We're going to go over legal size, weight, and load of commercial vehicles. Going to talk a little bit about the CVSA Safety Inspection Program and why it's even in place. And then the big one here too is your driver responsibility. And that a lot of times drivers think that, okay, I'm driving for a company, it's company responsibility. Well, I've got some sad news for you, because the law says if you're going to operate a commercial vehicle on the highway, we don't care who you're working for, it is your responsibility to know that that commercial vehicle is safe to operate on the highway, that the load you're hauling is secure and safe to be operated on the highway, and that you have any emergency and any safety equipment that you need to operate safely on the highway. And if you don't do your part, it comes down to the fact that the company's not the only one that's going to take the hit. You'll take the hit out on the highway. So driver responsibility is a very key issue here. The main goal of the Commercial Vehicle Division is safe transportation on all commodities in interstate and intrastate commerce. In other words, whether you operate solely within the state of Washington or you travel the 48 states, Canada, whatever, we want to know that you're operating safely, especially if you're based out of this state. And that commercial vehicle, does everybody know what a commercial vehicle is? Commercial vehicle is a vehicle that is over 10,000 pounds gross vehicular weight rating, and is operated in commerce, whether intrastate or interstate in the United States. This has nothing to do with whether you're being paid, compensated for it, or anything. It's a matter of, are you hauling somebody else's product? And that for delivery, or your job is to haul a commodity. That means that you're operating commercially if you're in a vehicle over 10,000 pounds. Now, the only time that changes is the fact that if you're hauling hazardous materials up here, it's any size vehicle. You can be hauling it in the back of your pickup or anything else. If you come under the regulations, you are operating commercially. Do not get that confused with when you're required to have a CDL. Commercial vehicle starts at 10,000 GVWR. CDL starts at 26,001 pounds. So realize there's two different issues here. Am I operating commercially? Yes, you can operate commercially and not be required to have a CDL. So just remember, like I said, there's a lot of these rules and regulations. I've been doing this for 20 years, and it's something that you have to constantly keep up on the regulations.